Music, one of life's greatest pleasures, has tremendous power. The power to bring a tear to the eye or quiet a racing mind. Music also has the power to heal and has been used through the ages to treat depression, create energy, induce sleep, relieve chronic pain, reduce stress, and even cure diseases. And now, musician and author Michael Tyrrell has created Whole Tones, the healing frequency music projects. These frequencies were studied in the music of King David and believed to have astounding healing effects. Now you can benefit from this revitalized ancient healing music therapy simply by listening daily to this music in the comfort of your own home, car, or office. Reward yourself with the gift of healing and transformation. Don't miss this opportunity to get an absolutely free sample of this music so that you can begin benefiting right away. Just visit WholeTonesLive.com and get a free sample of these soothing, relaxing, revitalizing musical tones. Visit WholeTonesLive.com today for your free sample. That's WHOLETONES Live.com. WholeTonesLive.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Neil Baker Psychic Hour. I am Kristen, and I'm here with psychic and author Neil Baker. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning.
And it's our second show in a row, 2 days back to back. So we're continuing our conversation we were having yesterday, and that originated on Wednesday of last week, about soulmates, karmic mates. And I think today we're going to be getting a little bit into the topic of twin souls. Of course, you know, it's a continuum here on our show. We do revisit topics because it's so difficult to get into the depth of discussion that is necessary when addressing these
usually, yeah, with our callers, we have about 15 minutes to speak, so it's
hard to say as much as there is needed to be said.
Yeah.
Of course. But I do want to let everybody know how to, of course, stay in touch with us. Facebook is linked under our Blog Talk Radio profile, as well as Twitter. And, of course, everyone can follow us right here on Blog Talk Radio. Excuse me. My chest is like, I don't know if I'm coming down with something. Allergies, maybe.
I hope not.
Oh, gosh, it hurts. But, Neil, talk to me.
About twin souls.
Well, I mean, soulmates we talked about, of course, for the last couple of days, and the fact that, you know, really the defining factors of these relationships are obviously subject to interpretation, personal interpretation. So many people have many different definitions. So obviously, you know, what you might say is going to contrast with what someone else might say. But, you know, I consider you an authority.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if there's a definitive statement that can be made about twin souls or soulmates. We haven't even discovered all the secrets of Earth,
right?
You know, so of the celestial kingdom and the afterlife. There are so many things down here we haven't unraveled. More or less the other frontiers and dimensions. We can in a very primitively crude sense of the word, explore the other worlds and gather information and the bits and pieces that we know and that we've retrieved. Of course, the thing lacking about the other world is that we can't provide empirical evidence on a scientific basis that what is actually happening there can be repeated. It's not a scientific definition, ultimately. It's a supernatural discussion based probably on obscure levels of some form of evidence or something that is inexplainable, but really there's no direct proof that anything is out there. And to skeptics, it's just imagination. It's just fabrication. It doesn't mean anything. But to those of us who believe, who know firsthand or believe through faith or some intuition or astral connection, there are discussions that we can engage in that we can all share on a kind of common level. But not everyone's going to agree in totality with certain concepts. When I talk about twin souls, I get into a different discussion. I don't really relate it to our earthly conceptions. It's a astral interpretation, a third dimension interpretation.
Right. So it's not based just like the soulmate relationship. So it's not based on a human feeling that you're connected to someone. Of course, that can play into a twin soul relationship or a soulmate relationship, but there's more content besides just feeling an affinity for somebody that designates them as twin souls.
Yeah. For instance, consider the idea that twin souls in the celestial astral realm, they were two souls that occupied one body. Now, when we talk about body, we're not really talking about a physical body. We're talking about a celestial body. But you've got to imagine that there are two souls that occupy one casing, one unit. So
it's not a soul that's split, and I know we've talked about this before.
No, it's not a soul. It's two individual souls in one body. But we have to define what is a body in the celestial world. It's the astral body, and there's two souls in it.
I see.
And so we're kind of walking around like we have a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere, a left brain, a right brain, a left hand, a right hand. We have different characteristics in our personalities. We virtually have male and female on the planet, and when they copulate, they according to text, they become one flesh. Well, in the celestial world, twin souls actually are like two in one. There's your Trinity factor right there. But there's two. It's two souls, not necessarily two sexualities, but it's two souls in one unit. Now, the reason that we say we meet our twin souls is because we're meeting someone that we occupied that total unit with. Oftentimes, we have to release ourselves, and these are still such crude terms, ourselves. In the celestial world, you don't have a self. That's a human term. But let's, for the sake of argument, just get by so we can work with some of these crude terminologies inadequately, however they are spoken. But the two souls can oftentimes get in conflict, or there's something that on that plane they have to learn. So what they do is they split from that total unit, and they each simultaneously come down to earth to learn certain aspects of a total truth. That's why the twin souls sometimes complement each other. What one can't do, the other one can do. One teaches the other one something about this, and the other one teaches something about that. But they're coming down to the planet to learn an absolute truth. And that is because in the celestial sphere, where they were twin souls, that is one unit, two separate entities within one unit, so they're twin souls. Something went amiss. Something went wrong. The astral realm is not a realm of perfection. The astral realm still has its conflicts and difficulties. There's still aspects of duality there in terms of good and evil and things like that, and principalities and debates still go on in that realm. light and dark is still within that realm. Now, when you can have a single unit, I've seen in visiting that realm and in talking to angels and guides, I've gathered enough kind of notes, if you will, and observations about how that world can have conflict in it. And a spirit, two spirits under one unit can still be in conflict. There's still forces and energies out there that can create controversy or duality. And so oftentimes two souls, remember they're souls now, they're not bodies, they're souls, they can occupy a body on the earth and thereby regroup as two separate entities, but in reality they are of the same unit, they're of the same encasing. So often, sometimes we kind of look at it as what, identical twins?
Right.
They come in, they're in the same womb at the same time.
Well, identical and fraternal, I believe it's like, what is the difference? Is it like the two different eggs with the fraternal and then the same egg for the identical? I think that's the definition. I'm not sure if I'm totally right on that, but go ahead.
But the concept is that they were born. Where I'm going is where they were born from the womb at the same time.
Right.
I
understand what you're saying.
Is it identical for?
Well, they're both born at this. I mean, they're both fraternal and identical, are obviously in the womb at the same time. But it's the way that they, and it is right. The fraternal are developed from separate ova, so there's two eggs.
Yeah.
And identical comes from one egg. So really, it's. I mean, obviously they're both in the womb at the same time, where they wouldn't be twins; they'd be brothers or sisters or whatever it may be. But
we're looking more at the one egg.
You're looking at the one egg concept because we're talking about the one egg concept in the encasing you're speaking of in the astral realm, where there's two in one, which,
Now, what are some of the lessons that have to be learned up there? They're kind of they have to have a spiritual context. And that has to do with the higher elements. And whatever those higher elements are, they're not going to be really necessarily things that our brains can conceive or analyze.
Right.
Because the energies up there are vastly different.
Excuse me.
It's like trying to teach somebody basic math and then suddenly calculus. They're two different languages under the same ceiling of mathematics. So the element here is that there's a higher zone, if you will, of spirituality where there are conflicts. And sometimes you have to come down and learn the basics again. That happens in anything, whether it's mathematics or music or dance. Or you have to always get in touch with the basic steps, because that's where everything starts again. And sometimes when our greatest pros are screwing up, they have to analyze again the basics of their given talents or profession or art forms. And that's what happens. Twin souls will often come down to the earth to learn the basics again, because on that higher level something got amiss and something was disturbed. So they'll come down, and typically when they connect, there's a union of some kind. There's an electrical charge, there's a recognition, and there's a validation. Typically, it's spontaneously, simultaneously connected. So two twin souls will recognize each other immediately. I've had clients that says, I've met my twin soul, but they're having struggles with connecting on the same level that I do. And they don't seem to share it, but I know this is my twin soul. Can that be possible? Can a twin soul have an adverse reaction to one another, to where one believes it and the other one thinks the person's nuts? You're not my twin soul. Well, I guess we can envelop the idea of delusion, self-delusion, or obsession, or insanity, or mistaken identity. I guess those are parts of the psyche that can affect a person's evaluation as to whether or not they're really connecting to their twin soul. But there is a degree of discrepancy between what would otherwise be twin souls, in that one party may not link themselves to the former party on the same level of recognition, and yet they are twin souls. That is because there may be an obstruction in their psyche. You can have amnesia on a spiritual level and not remember. When there's total recall, when it's beautifully designed, then we have people who totally connect to their past lives. And a lot of us who do connect to our past lives, we don't really have proof. Oh, I was a king in Egypt, blah, 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 or I was a sailor during the ancient days, but there's no real proof. When you get children, though, who confess to certain and allude to certain facts and figures and names and dates and incidences which they couldn't have found on TV or the internet in this day and age, then it gets a little bit more eerie, and the concept of past lives becomes something more than just some extraordinary channel of the brain that is reaching out and discovering something, but in all actuality there was a soul or spirit journey from another place and time. So these elements can come in, and at any given time there can be a ratio between accuracy, inaccuracy, or the aspect that two people can simultaneously recognize each other, that they were once twin souls and that they're on the earth split but learning one concept.
But there's a lot of discussion about twin souls and the fact that they're often at odds. If you look online, there's just not a lot of information that's reliable, I guess. And there's conflicting information that when you meet your twin soul, it's like, heaven, then you read another, website, entry from a website that says that, you're constantly in conflict and at war with your twin soul because you're too similar. So it seems like, again,
a lot of it comes from the plot line of what was happening on the soul level, on the higher level. There's also, in my world, I oftentimes will calculate a person's birth date and another person's birth date, and I go through probably, you and I are working on a book of numerology of great depth.
We are?
That's what I heard. See, here we are. We're in conflict. Twin souls in conflict. And what is being discovered is that in the combinations of a birth date between two people, I think we've written over 120 pages already just getting into the concept of the numbers.
Right. I will let you know how many pages. It's about 132.
132.
And
it's up there.
Probably devoted to the twin soul topic. There's about 40 pages that talks about that specific topic. We do have a caller we're going to be getting to in a minute. In
1 minute.
But go ahead with what you were saying, Neil.
Yeah, because you see the numbers, when you run, what you're probably discovering, Kristen, when you run through the number system, we must have gone through over 100 combinations of number systems. You have found it exhausting, I know, because you've said it, but at the same time you're finding constantly amazing connections in number systems.
Well, it's very complicated. When you really start to look at the numbers in depth, it's so much more than just a master number. It's so much more than just a master number. And so, of course, Neil, you're sharing your secrets with me, which I'm very grateful for, and it's such an exciting process to be involved in. But yes, it's complicated because there are so many intricate details when you're looking at an individual birth date, much less a combination of birth dates. But what's become really obvious to me in just a bare evaluation of two separate birth dates is certain commonalities that are going to either be there or not be there when the relationship has more either karmic connection, soulmate connection, or a twin soul. But it's the twin soul relationship is not something you can just look at and say, oh, well, yeah, those two.
Yeah, no, it's
not.
There are many things that sound like twin soul confirmations, but in all actuality, a true twin soul connection is so much more intricate. And the patterns of the birth dates between the karmic side and the transcendent side, and how the numbers match and how they are recreated in other forms and manners, is an investigation that sometimes can literally take at least a year every day of the week working on to analyze those concepts. And I don't mean to sound too calculating in the dryness of the numbers or the calculations of the numbers, but they do speak loads and loads and codes of information. As any number system theory does ultimately take years to discover and unravel, you just can't discover the theory of relativity overnight and then understand what it is. It's a great, vast area of exploration. And when we get into the idea of the cosmic elements of numbers in terms of past lives and transcendence and master numbers and soul and spirit and body and past lives, well, then it gets rather extraordinary, not to mention the depth of the chakra connections to the numbers and the communication levels and how each lifetime interconnects with other lifetimes that transverse and move through the different time zones and meet, as in most of our cases, on one common plane.
Right. Now, before we get to this 505, we're picking up your call in just a moment, but I have one more question. It's something we've discussed on past shows where we delved into this topic a little bit, but the commonality of a twin soul relationship, I mean, how common is it, Neil?
Not very common.
People are enchanted with the idea of these divine connections with another individual on the earth plane, but it really isn't commonplace at all.
It's not very common. So it's common, but not very common.
What do you mean? I don't know what that means.
I mean, what it means is that what stands before a true twin soul connection can sound like a twin soul connection. There's truly elements that resemble a true twin soul connection. So for the most part, when we feel we've met our twin souls, the feeling and the qualities and the ingredients and explanations are so much close to a true twin soul connection. But there are certain tests that have to be
carried out,
executed, that really determine if there was a true twin soul connection from another realm, and not just a soulmate energy. The soulmates are much more common than twin souls.
Right. How many clients have you had where you've detected a twin soul connection?
A twin soul connection?
In your entire lifetime, and you've done, just
I've
massive amount of readings.
Over 45 years of, I'm older than that. I'm in my 60s, but over 45 years of actively doing readings with people every single day of my life. I could count them on maybe one hand of a true twin soul. Now, I've seen people who are beautifully connected, and they're soulmates. I've seen that. Those would be too much to count over that many amount of years. But twin souls, not very often. Not very often. Because a lot of them won't come to a psychic. There's no need. They don't come to a psychic. So it's not that they're not out there. I just haven't done readings with them. I have walked around and with my third eye seen twin souls and went, oh, my God, there's one. But that's like sighting a wild animal in the wild,
an endangered
animal.
Yeah.
And you don't really, you don't really have access to bring them into the lab and talk to them.
And would you say, lastly, Neil, before we get to this call, that the path, when people are connected with their twin souls, is there kind of a higher energy that they're supposed to be connecting with? And if they don't, that's kind of dangerous. If they don't actually fulfill a higher non-earthly path?
It's not dangerous, but it can...
As far as their transcendence
it can cause a collision course of such an intensity that the souls have to come back and do it again.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's dangerous in regards to transcendence.
Yeah, I mean, they're down here. We're down here basically to be tested. However beautiful our environment is, we're all human beings being tested. Our souls and spirits are being tested. First of all, our souls. The spirit comes after that. But in that aspect of life, this is where we find the beautiful design as to what the levels are between the physicality of communion, the soul energy of communion, and then the ultimate spirit energy of communion, which a spirit energy between two people is absolutely phenomenal, and you can't even put that into words. That's different than a soul connection.
Okay, well, that's great, Neil. Thank you so much. And we are going to get to our caller. And, of course, stay tuned for our book, which will really, really reveal a lot of these secrets that we can't
Not
discuss.
quite. We're saving that for the published book.
Yeah. Okay. Area code 505. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I was listening to your show, and I just had to call in, Neil, because...
Is this Patricia?
Yes,
Hi, yeah, I recognize. Please. Good morning.
I do listen to your show. Thank you. Good morning. And something very, very peculiar has been happening to me in the dream state, and I wanted to find out, Neil, what this entity is. There's a male spirit that has been speaking to me, and his voice sounds like mine, but in a male voice. And he comes in like a black cloak. I have never seen his face, but after my divorce, he came immediately to speak with me, and he said, when you're free, then I will come. And then he put his whole spirit around my body. His body was like outlining mine and was nurturing me. And then the other night, his body was outlining my body like a perfect outline, sleeping with me. And then there was a spirit that was watching us, and he chased that spirit away. And then he also asks me questions and says things to me that are very beautiful. And I'm just wondering, this just does not seem like a guide. Is this maybe a twin flame in spirit?
Do you want to get her birth date?
Okay, that's fine.
Or not?
No, yeah.
Oh, what's your birth date again, Patricia? Remembering you're an 8? I'm not sure. 1/24/63. Okay, sorry to interrupt, so I want to get that. 7/17. 8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's an 8.
What you're experiencing, Patricia, is not a guide. What you're experiencing is a past life love from a past life that is not back on the earth. That soul is in the astral realm, and the connection that this person has with you from that past life is now he's attempting to try to reach you because you're in the body, he's in the soul, and so he's trying his best to connect to you because he's a lost soul. And he's in black because he's not transcended yet. So imagine he died. He's not on the earth right now in a physical body. He's still in the limbo state of the astral realm, but he's still part of his karmic journey involved you in that lifetime. So there was something between the two of you that happened that he has to try to reconnect to resolve. But a lot of it has to do with passion and protection. He might have killed somebody over jealousy, and so he could have been a lover that killed another person that was in love with you. That's why he was chasing this other spirit away. He's in darkness, cloaked in black, because he committed a sin on the earth. But the sin was not directed against you. It was directed against existence, so to speak. And he's saying as soon as you're free, meaning when you die and you go into your soul habitation, you will see him more directly, and two of you might have to work something out or converse or something. But while he's still in the astral realm trying to resolve his karmic issues, the only thing he can work with through that great distance is your body, and trying to connect to you in the astral realm where you're best able to hear him and feel him and sense him, because your astral body's more awake then.
Uh-huh. Okay. I was just wondering who this entity is, because he had been reminded me that my bird seed feeder was empty, and I went outside the next day and the bird feeder was getting empty. So he warns me of things. And
yeah, Patricia, you had a past life love relationship with him, and he loved you dearly. But he was probably a crazy, jealous, controlling person, but loved you. He wasn't mean to you or anything. He just was sort of controlling and loving and possessive, jealous. And I think he probably, something happened and it triggered such anger in him that he disposed of the rival and paid for it. He's in the astral realm. He probably somehow needs your energy to help work things out. And who knows, maybe you have some other connection with him that will ultimately help you work things out. But I guess you could say he's here to protect you in the best way that he can, because he's not an angel or a guide, for God's sakes. He's just soul. You can approach him. It's not going to. If you know what you're doing, you can approach him and talk to him and try to figure out what's going on. It won't stop you. He's not here to stop you from having relationships on the earth. He's just reenacting the culprits and rivals that were in his lifetime, and probably other spirits that he recognizes from that lifetime who are also in his state of existence, who are trying to get around you. So he's trying to keep them away. But he's not a crazy spirit. He's not like you're going to fall in love with somebody here and he's going to go attack that person. That's his earth level. He doesn't care. That's not his concern. His concern is the time zone that he was locked in where he had his crisis.
Okay. Yeah, he's very nurturing. He's very kind, and he says beautiful things. He's just very kind.
That's what he is. In a moment of passion, he probably, what I gather from communication with him, is that he killed somebody. He killed somebody because there was too much rivalry, and he killed them, and probably regretted it. He's in mourning. He's got a dark oak, so he's in mourning for what he did, but he did it, and he's now on the astral realm working things out.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, he told me the other day, he says, I have a question to ask you, and then he went away, but he never did ask the question. Maybe he'll ask it another time. I don't know what he's going to ask me, but I'll have to wait.
Well,
he has a question.
Yeah, because you're not, well, the question, you see, when souls do that, it's because he's frustrated, because he can't find the answers because he's no longer in that time zone. He had a chance in that time zone to resolve things, and he didn't. So the reason that he asked you a question that remains unanswered is because he really can't resolve what happened back then in the state of existence that he's in now. So he's telling you, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because I kind of screwed up, and I can't find the answers yet to how to correct what I did in that lifetime, but I love you, and I care for you. So his question becomes a rhetorical question because it can't be answered yet. The time zones are too vast.
Wow. Well, I just needed to bring that up because it was just so peculiar, and it's never happened to me before, and it seems to be happening more rapidly. So I didn't know what it was. I know it wasn't a guide or an angel because I can just feel it that it wasn't that.
Yeah, you could say, Patricia, you could say to Spirit, I after talking with Neil, I recognize that you were a past life love, and I give you comfort and love, and and well-being, whatever, you're invited to stay as long as you don't intrude, and there's just a warmth and there's an understanding. Let me live my life down here and let me do the things that I need to do, and perhaps when I cross over we can talk and meet and discuss things. That would be a great comfort to him.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, well, I'm glad I asked because I didn't know what it was.
Lastly, Patricia, as a human being, you can say, in the human form, I send you angels and guides and spirits to comfort you too. In the human form, human beings do have a little bit of leeway to ask for things, even for souls on the other side.
Oh, wow. Okay, but he's here with me, and I can, converse with him if I want to, and he won't, get into my life. I mean, if I.
Oh no. No,
decide.
my radar and my attention to details tells me that this isn't like some movie that we go to see a horror film where he's going to get in the way of people. No. He might feel a need to protect you. There's an electrical fire in your plug or something, or the radio's going to fall in the bathtub, or some guy who is stalking you with a knife. He may move. I don't know how much power he's got, but he may move in to protect you. But somebody falling in love with you or being your friend, he wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, because he's here to resolve his issues, not create new ones.
Okay.
He's not evil, and he's not here to obstruct your natural life. He doesn't hold the same principles of jealousy that he had on the earth. He's not, for that matter, he's not eating, he's not going to the bathroom, he's not watching movies. The earthly things he was doing is not of concern to him. But the emotional intensity of what he was doing in that lifetime is most crucial to him. But no, he's not like holding a jealousy issue because you're on the earth and you fall in love. In fact, if anything, he would want to see your life completed with joy, because that reduces his karma in a way.
Wow. Yeah, he's been helping me with that too. He says different things to me to help me. He tells me things about what's around me, so that's good. That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it gets creepy or crazy, then you need to either go to a person like myself or somebody and say, "What's going on? This is getting creepy, and I don't know what it is." That's either you're going insane, or the entity is not what we thought it was.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's the thing we have to worry about. That's like saying I got a pet rabbit, and is it going to turn into a vampire? That's not right now our concern.
Okay. Well, he's been nice so far. Okay.
Neil. Okay, well, Patricia, thanks for your
Thank
call.
you. And I will continue to listen on the computer. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'll put her on mute, but she's probably going to listen online. Anyway.
Yeah, that's another interesting concept, Kristen, that how do we breach the dialogue between our world and the other world, and how do we get clarity when these things are happening? Fortunately, those of us who are extremely intuitive and connected, the explanations come easier. So we're not beset with a lot of fogginess and concern over some of the things that go on. And the more that one is equipped to understand the astral realm, the more one can perfectly bring some logic to it.
You're talking so quietly.
Oh, I am?
Yes, I can hear you.
I don't want to wake the dead.
Right.
Including our audience.
There are people listening. And we just don't have a lot of callers, probably because this usually happens when we do back-to-back shows.
I know in the archives there's always information.
Right, and I know people have been telling us they've been actually listening to the archive shows. So, this is there for them, or this will be there for them, of course, when we complete the show. So there's always lots of information to glean from our discussions.
Yeah, you know, I mean, in our last caller, since she did give the birth date, and I don't know if she's still listening.
Yeah, she said she's listening on her computer because she's a regular listener. She's
Patricia.
one of those people who just listens to our show, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Her birth date, you know, there's a broken up 7 in there, isn't there? In 1, 2,
there
4.
Is.
So there's a broken up spirituality. So the reason we say that is because 7 is the 7th chakra, and the broken up spirituality has been shattered.
Yeah.
1, 2, 4.
So something to do with past life issue with compromising spirituality for ego, not being balanced, and I don't know, maybe putting too much emphasis on material possessions and things like that.
The earth and sexual energy.
Sexual
the
energy.
2nd chakra.
Okay.
So, you know, there was some sexual crisis, which can be relationship crisis. There was some crisis with the earth and with the broken heart.
Mm-hmm.
So those were some of the aspects that this individual now in the soul state might be trying to connect to.
Well, it's interesting because her numbers rise until you get to the 3. Then there's a drop.
I see the 3 was originally the 1, 2 that was broken up in her month and day.
So she can join those energies to create a solid 3, essentially.
Yeah. She can, and she's an 8 by master number, which is a transcendent high number, and that's why she's able to approach the higher realms beyond the 7th chakra, even in her sleep. That's what's giving her a certain mechanism that makes herself attached to the astral realm on a level such as the one that she expressed.
We have another caller, Neil.
Okay.
May I bring them on, please? Mother, may I?
Yeah.
Okay. 540, good morning.
Yes, hello. This is Eric in Virginia.
E-R-I-C?
Yes.
Go ahead, Eric.
My date of birth, in case you need my date of birth, is September 15th, 1975.
September 15th, 1975. Did we talk to you recently?
Oh,
no?
September 15th. It may have been a month and a half or more.
I'm just trying to remember if we've talked to you before, that's all. Yeah, so you've called the show. 16. I remember your voice and your name, I think. All right, so use the 2810-1. Am I doing that right?
37.
What's wrong with me? I just forgot to add a 10. Okay. Eric, what's going on?
I said I'm sorry, I don't know if you heard. I said September. I don't know if that was stated clearly or not. Okay.
9/15/75.
Yeah.
Correct?
Okay. Well, actually, I have a question concerning empathy. There are times when I sometimes feel a rush of emotion, and I'm not sure whether it's actually something that I'm organically feeling myself or whether there's some connection I'm picking up with someone else. The most recent cases that happened the other day, when I happened to think about an ex of mine, I don't know if it was some kind of connection that was happening there or if, I'm not really sure. Sometimes I'm not really sure whether my emotions are mine or if I'm picking up something from someone else. I was just curious if you might read anything from that.
Okay.
Eric, can I ask you a question? Do you have 1 or 2 siblings?
I have 1.
Oh, you have a sibling. Okay. Some of the empathy issues can originate on a psychological level with our siblings. We on a human level, we tend to have more connection in our journeys of having empathy when we do have siblings. That isn't to say that single children can't have empathy. Anybody can have empathy, but sometimes in the course of past life energies, our siblings were in our past lives. Now, they might have been from a different family and such things, but we tend to have that energy going. And you have people who have a 9 in their month have a great capacity. You're a Virgo. You have a great capacity to emulate, assimilate, have great empathy. I mean, any month can. Don't get me wrong. Any month can. But people who are born in the 9th month, that's also the element of of giving birth, the 9th month, there's a tendency to have great empathy with people, and it's also because you in past lives have given birth, so you've been a mother in past lives, and so that the attitude of having empathy does come connected to the element that we in our past lives have been maternal, because maternal energies, that's where it really comes from. The father is apart from the energy. They're kind of a protector, but the women, they have a certain unique sensitivity. And as we progress throughout time and we come back to the earth and we occupy different sexualities, we can in our body hold a strong maternal instinct. And I do believe, Eric, in your case, and Eric's a very masculine name. It's not a feminine name. But as human beings, we do have masculine and feminine psyches if we're really healthy. And so we have this equatable balance that we have to naturally establish within our unit. So you have a great empathy towards human beings. And yes, it has to kind of go through the channels of your own energy. So sometimes there's an art form of interpretation, whether it's your feeling or you're picking up somebody else's feeling. But I can say this to you, Eric, a lot of what you get in my vibrational interpretation to you as a human being is you're picking up a lot of energies from other people. So it's just not you creating your own feeling about somebody else. You're actually assimilating the energy and internalizing the energy of somebody else. And it's getting enmeshed in your own energy field. And so therefore there's a question in your mind, is it me or is it somebody else? But it's actually two mints in one. You've got two energies going at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I kind of suspected, but at times it's hard to distinguish where sometimes emotions are coming from because of that dynamic. And then there are times where I have to kind of try to take a closer look at that to figure out, was this really something that came internally or externally to me? And I'm not always sure about that.
Sometimes critical analysis and analyzing a situation can help you map out your emotional state or your mental state of things. So it sounds like you're taking a very cautious step towards analyzing your actions. Otherwise, yes, there are some people who are very obnoxious and they assume that their feelings are always right and that they can interpret somebody else's emotions and feelings and almost dictate to them what's going on, and the offending party can say, you're crazy, that's not what I feel at all, or you're possessive, or you're stalking me, or whatever. And that gets more into the realm of insanity. But when you're carefully examining something, Eric, as it seems like you are, then that's a good indication that you're on a logical plane. And sometimes it's okay to kind of marriage the two concepts together, that what you're getting could be coming from you as well as from a next party. So there is
Understood.
And it gets kind of complicated because you could also be picking up on some of the thought forms that are coming from a past life with the party. And that can be deeply embedded in a code, and sometimes it's noteworthy to kind of analyze it with somebody who has a certain head for these things and an interpretive skill for them to help you sort out your feelings and get them all corrected, like any shrink or psychologist would. Well, there are those in the astral field of language that can help you map out these feelings too, and not just consider that they're just totally psychological.
Right. Just the confusing part is not knowing whether it's right to accept what I feel at times.
Well, it's not a matter of... Eric, it's not a matter of accepting what you feel, it's what you do with it. Accepting your feelings is one thing. What you do with those feelings is another. So your actions have to be equatable to a certain guideline of common, decent human behavior. That's the main trick. We can all feel love or hate or jealousy or rage or compassion, but what we do in the form of how we act that out in an action, that's a whole different form of discussion, and that's what you have to be careful about.
Understood.
Okay.
I don't know. I appreciate everything that you told me to answer my question. If you don't have any more time, I'll call in another time with another question.
We do have another caller, Eric, so we have to get to that caller, but, you're, of course, welcome to call the show, or you can get in touch with Neil directly, 562-596-7818, so either way. But, yeah, we've got to move on to the next caller.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, Neil, we've got a caller from 941 area code. Good morning.
I'm so sorry. I'm just listening in.
Okay, well, that's fine. I will put you on mute, and we'll bring Eric back on and let him ask his question. Eric. Hi, are you still there?
Hello again, yeah.
Good.
Yes,
Sam,
I am.
Okay, so we just had a listener. So what's your second question?
My second question involves actually my employment situation, that I'm kind of in a transition out of my job until the end of this month, and I'm just trying to get some direction or some more validation about what my path forward is in terms of how things are looking for opportunities.
As we speak, you're 38 years old. Your numerical birth date here is split. You're a 37-10-1, so you're compounded. 10 years old, there might have been a change, a move, something in your life. There might have been some divorce in the family, but at the age of 37, there would have been another change, which was approximately almost a year ago. So this has been a year of change coming up. You're about to turn 39. So I would say about 2 years ago, a little over a year ago, there might have been a change. Have you ever been involved in any form of job that would be considered human services, communication, anything along that line? And I may be a little bit rusty in the direct interpretation of your job, but have you ever done anything in human services or anything that has to do with human communications?
The closest thing was maybe in high school. I worked in a grocery store, but that's not directly that. It was just that I had customers at times to deal with. But
no, that's not what I meant. What kind of job do you do?
I'm a software engineer.
What?
Software engineer.
Oh, software engineer. I'm not software engineer, so you work on, I'm not the computer guy. So what do? You work on computers, and you what?
I develop, improve, and debug software for mostly web applications in my current job, but that's not the only thing I'm capable of working on. And in past jobs, I had other types of software I worked with, such as fiber optic test instrumentation was a job I worked on 10-plus years ago.
Did you ever work for a company that is involved in human services, human connections, human communications? Did you ever work for any facility or forwarding facility?
I can't say that I had a job, but I also regularly attend a Reiki group where I work on people with energy work.
But
I still do that.
So none of I think what Neil's getting at is any of the software that you've worked on, have they been for companies that involve human services?
Well, the software I've worked on is for library systems.
Okay.
So in terms of public knowledge, I would say that's the closest thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Oh, no. It's interesting because
that is really weird. It is weird.
Yeah. I was just discussing today about software and how libraries are going more to e-books. And so when you mentioned library systems, I was just today... We
were just discussing it before the show started.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an article here in the paper
about how libraries are going more to e-books. And so when you say library systems, it brings into play the article and, of course, the software, because libraries are going more towards e-books and things like that, which connects to your question. So what I'm getting at this point, Eric, is a change in October. So you may have to go through August, September, then October there's a change. Now, as we're discussing the month of October, and I know we don't have too much time left, but is there anybody around you or close to you born in the month of October? Does October hold any birth dates?
Nobody close to me that I can think of has a birthday in October.
Nobody close to you has a birth date in October. Well, I think that come October, there's going to be a job change. Something changes in October. So I know we're kind of in an obscure level of answering your question, because I think your question was, what was it about the job? What's going to come up with the job?
Mm-hmm.
October is the month I'm getting, Eric, where there's a change.
Oh, okay. Hopefully for the better.
Have you been, where you're working, are you working for a specific company now? Are you freelance? How does this work?
The company I worked for the past 10 years has been bought up. So there's been a lot of consolidation in the library industry, and the company I work for was bought up, and they went through and downscaled the company and put a lot of people on transition out of their job. And my transition ends at the end of August.
Okay, so you said the last 10 years. Remember, Eric, your master number is 37101. So we're correct in saying that you're coming to the end of a cycle. And because it's in August, you're going to be, that means September, you might have a cold month. October, there's a 10th month, something's going to come up. So I think for the sake of brevity of a radio reading on the radio, we can safely assume or say that October you're going to have a new job. And it seems that this 10-year period that is ending is part of your cycle. It just happens to fit into your magical number system. And then September is the first month that you have to face with unemployment, supposedly. That's your birth month. And remember, you're a 9/1 in your birth date. That's a 10. So I'm predicting that in October, within the first week or something, you're going to find work. That's the latest.
Okay. I appreciate everything, Neil.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Right. That's it for our show, I think, Neil. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think we're good to go.
Good to go.
Good to
All
go.
right.
We're good to go, and we'll be back.
We will be back on Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific, and that's it. Yes, have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks so much.